The moment my wife told her entire family she regretted marrying me daily, I knew I was done. Not hurt, not surprised, just done. See, this wasn't some random cruel comment. This was the final confirmation of what I'd been seeing for months. We were at her family's annual reunion, the usual backyard barbecue with about 30 relatives scattered around picnic tables. I was actually enjoying myself, talking with her uncle about his new fishing boat, when her cousin decided to play relationship counselor. "So you two lovebirds," she said with that annoying sing-song voice. "Are you happy together? You've been married, what, 5 years now?" My wife didn't even pause. "Happy? I regret this marriage daily." She said it with this dismissive laugh, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. The table went quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then everyone started laughing, thinking she was being sarcastic. Her mom even said, "Oh honey, we all feel that way sometimes." But I wasn't laughing. I looked directly at my wife, then back at the table. "Me too. That's why I'm ending it." The laughter died instantly. You could hear the neighbor's dog barking 3 houses away. "Wait, what?" her cousin stammered. "Neither of us is joking," I said calmly, cutting into my burger. "She regrets marrying me daily. I regret staying married to someone who feels that way." Problem solved. My wife's face went from amused to panic mode in record time. "Babe, I was just kidding around." "Were you?" I interrupted. "Because that's exactly how you've been treating this marriage. Like a daily regret." Her father, who'd always been decent to me, looked confused. "Son, surely you two can work this out." "We tried that once before," I said, taking another bite. "Didn't stick." The thing is, I'd been thinking about this moment for weeks. Not planning it, exactly, but knowing it was coming. See, 5 years ago, I thought I was marrying someone who'd grown up. Someone who'd learned from her mistakes. I was wrong. Back in college, I supported her through orthopedic school. Not just emotionally. I'm talking rent, groceries, textbooks, everything. She was focused on her studies, and I was happy to provide stability. Her family knew this. They'd thanked me multiple times for being such a positive influence. Then came the betrayal. Her study partner turned into something more. I found out when she left her laptop open to messages that made my stomach turn. Clinical terminology mixed with very unclinical activities. But I forgave her. Like an idiot, I believed her tears, her promises to change, her speech about how it meant nothing and I was her future. We got married 6 months later. Big mistake. Because forgiveness, apparently, translated to permission in her mind. Permission to take my support for granted. Permission to treat our marriage like an inconvenience. Permission to act like I owed her something instead of the other way around. Her brother finally broke the silence. "This is crazy. You guys can't be serious." "Dead serious," I replied. "Your sister just announced to 30 people that she regrets marrying me every single day. I'm simply agreeing with her assessment." "But you were joking, right?" her mom asked desperately, looking at my wife. My wife opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time in years, she didn't have a quick answer. "Tell them," I said quietly. "Tell them about last month when you said I was holding you back from your true potential. Tell them about how you complained that marriage was too much work for what you get out of it. Tell them about—" "Stop," she hissed. "Stop what? Telling the truth? Isn't that what we're doing here? Being honest about our feelings?" The family was looking back and forth between us like they were watching a tennis match. Except instead of a ball, it was their daughter's marriage exploding in real time. "Look," her aunt tried to mediate. "Every couple goes through rough patches." "This isn't a rough patch," I said, finishing my beer. "This is a pattern, and I'm tired of being the only one trying to fix it." My wife finally found her voice. "You're being dramatic." I made one comment. One comment. I almost laughed. "Lady, you've been making that same comment in different ways for months. Today you just said it out loud." That's when I saw it. The exact moment she realized I wasn't backing down. Wasn't going to let her spin this into my fault. Wasn't going to quietly eat my food and pretend everything was fine. Her grandmother, bless her heart, tried one more time. "Sweetheart, marriage is about forgiveness." "I already forgave her once," I said, standing up. Apparently, that was my mistake. The silence that followed was different. Heavier. Because now they were starting to understand this wasn't about one bad joke. This was about respect. And I was done living without it. I walked toward the house to use the bathroom, leaving my wife to explain to her family why their son-in-law had just publicly agreed that their marriage was a mistake. Because sometimes the truth needs witnesses. When I came back from the bathroom, the entire dynamic had shifted. My wife was in full damage control mode, talking rapidly to her parents while shooting desperate glances toward the house. The cousins were whispering among themselves, and her grandmother looked like someone had told her Santa wasn't genuine. "There he is," my wife said with forced cheerfulness as I sat back down. "Honey, I explained to everyone that we were both just being silly." "Did you?" I picked up my burger again. "What exactly did you explain?" Her father cleared his throat. "Son, she says you've both been under stress lately. Work pressure, you know how it is." I nodded slowly. "That's interesting. What kind of work stress have you been under, sweetheart?" The question hung in the air like smoke. See, she'd been working as an orthopedic specialist for 2 years now. Good money, regular hours, respected position. All made possible because I'd supported her through 7 years of school and residency. "Well, you know," she stammered, "the usual. Difficult patients, long hours." "Funny," I said, "because last week you told me your biggest problem was having too much free time on weekends." Her mother looked confused. "Free time? I thought you were swamped at the clinic." My wife's face was getting redder by the minute. "I am. It's complicated." "Not really," I said calmly. "She works 4 days a week, has every Friday off, and complains that I expect her to spend weekends with me instead of going out with her single friends." The table was getting uncomfortable again. Her brother shifted in his seat. "Maybe we should talk about something else." "Why?" I asked. "We're finally being honest. Isn't that what families do?" Her uncle, the one with the fishing boat, leaned forward. "You know, I always admired how you supported her through school. That couldn't have been easy." "It wasn't," I agreed. "Rent, groceries, textbooks, lab fees. Even bought her a car when hers broke down during her 3rd year. But I was happy to do it. I believed in us." My wife was practically squirming now. "You're making it sound like I was some charity case." "Were you not?" I asked genuinely. "Because I distinctly remember you having exactly $47 in your bank account when we moved in together." Her grandmother looked shocked. $47? "Honey, you never told us things were that tight." Because she was embarrassed, I explained. Her pride wouldn't let her ask family for help, but she had no problem letting me handle everything. That's when her father asked the question I'd been waiting for. "What did you mean earlier about forgiving her once before?" The silence was deafening. My wife looked like she'd rather disappear into the ground. "Dad, that's private," she said quickly. "Is it?" I asked. "Because our marriage apparently isn't private enough to keep you from announcing your daily regrets to 30 people. Her mother's voice was quiet. "What happened before?" I looked directly at my wife. "You want to tell them? Or should I?" "Please don't," she whispered. "Don't what?" "Tell them about your study partner? The one who helped you with more than just anatomy." You could have heard a pin drop. Her brother's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "That's enough," my wife said sharply. "You're right," I agreed. It was enough. It was enough 2 years ago when I found those messages. It was enough when you promised to change. And it's definitely enough now. Her mother looked devastated. "Sweetheart, you cheated on him?" "It wasn't what you think," my wife said desperately. "It was a mistake. A moment of weakness. We worked through it." "We worked through it," I corrected. "Because I chose to forgive you. Because I believed you when you said it would never happen again. Because I thought marriage meant something to you." Her father was staring at his daughter like he'd never seen her before. "You cheated on this man after everything he'd done for you?" "Dad, it's complicated." "No," her uncle interrupted. "It's really not. The man put you through school, supported you for years, forgave you for cheating, and you repay him by publicly humiliating him." My wife was crying now, but they weren't the manipulative tears I'd seen before. These looked like panic. "I didn't mean it the way it sounded," she said. "How did you mean it?" her grandmother asked. "Because it sounded like you don't appreciate anything he's done for you." That's when her brother, who'd been quiet this whole time, spoke up. "You know what? He's right. You have been different since you started working. More entitled." "Entitled?" she snapped. "Yeah," he continued. "Like the world owes you something. Like your success happened in a vacuum." Her cousin, the one who'd started this whole mess, was looking at me with new respect. "I had no idea about any of this. I thought you guys were the perfect couple." "So did I said simply. "Turns out I was the only one trying to be perfect." My wife was looking around the table, realizing that public opinion was shifting fast. "This is ridiculous," she said, standing up. I made one comment. and now you're all acting like I'm some terrible person. Sit down, her father said firmly. You're not going anywhere until we finish this conversation. She sat, reluctantly. Tell me something, her mother said to me. Why didn't you ever mention any of this to us? Because it wasn't your burden to carry, I replied. I thought we could work it out privately. I thought she'd remember what gratitude looked like. But she didn't, her uncle stated. No, I confirmed. She didn't. And today, in front of all of you, she made it clear that she never will. The family was looking at their daughter, their sister, their niece, like they were seeing her for the first time. And honestly, maybe they were. Because the woman I'd supported, forgiven, and believed in had just shown her true colors to the people who mattered most. And they didn't like what they saw. The ride home was silent. Not the comfortable kind of silence you get after a good day, but the heavy kind that feels like waiting for a bomb to go off. My wife kept glancing at me, probably trying to figure out her next move. She waited until we were inside before starting her offensive. I can't believe you humiliated me like that in front of my entire family. I hung my keys on the hook by the door, same spot I'd used for 5 years. I didn't humiliate you. You did that all by yourself. One comment. I made one stupid comment. That wasn't a comment, I said, walking to the kitchen. That was a confession. She followed me, heels clicking on the hardwood floor I'd paid to have refinished last year. You're being ridiculous. People say things they don't mean all the time. I opened the refrigerator and grabbed a beer. You mean it? That's the problem. How can you be so sure? I turned to face her. Because I've been documenting it. The color drained from her face. What do you mean, documenting? I pulled out my phone and scrolled to my notes app. March 15th. You told your sister that marriage was harder than medical school because at least school had an end date. April 3rd. You complained to your coworker that I was clingy for wanting to spend our anniversary together. April 22nd. Stop, she said quietly. May 7th. You told your friend from college that you felt trapped and wondered what life would be like if you were single. May 19th. I said stop. I put the phone down. Should I continue? Because I've got 3 months worth of these gems. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You've been spying on me? I've been listening to you. Turns out, when someone repeatedly tells people they're unhappy, it's worth paying attention. That's creepy. I almost laughed. What's creepy is finding out your wife has been bad-mouthing your marriage to anyone who'll listen while playing happy couple at home. She tried a different approach. Okay, fine. Maybe I've been frustrated lately, but that doesn't mean we can't work it out. Work what out exactly? Your gratitude problem? Your respect issue? Or should we start with the fact that you think I'm holding you back from your true potential? Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. I never said that. Tuesday night. Kitchen table. Right after I asked if you wanted to look at vacation options for our anniversary. The fight went out of her then. She slumped against the counter. Why are you doing this? Because I'm tired of being married to someone who doesn't want to be married to me. But I do want. No, I interrupted. You want the security I provide. You want someone to split bills with. You want the appearance of stability. But you don't want me. That hit home. I could see it in her eyes. That's not true. I walked to the drawer where we kept important papers and pulled out a manila folder. This might interest you. Her eyes went wide. What is that? Consultation notes from 3 weeks ago. Turns out, filing for divorce in this state is pretty straightforward when you have documentation of financial contribution and evidence of marital breakdown. She grabbed the folder and flipped through it. Financial records, contribution summaries, even screenshots of her more colorful comments about our marriage that she'd posted on social media. You've been planning this for weeks? I've been preparing for the inevitable. There's a difference. This is insane. You can't just end a marriage because of a few bad months. A few bad months. I finished my beer and set the bottle down carefully. Lady, you've been checked out of this marriage since you started making actual money. The only difference is now you're honest about it. She was crying again, but these tears felt different. More angry than sad. I gave up everything for you. What exactly did you give up? I'm genuinely curious. My career opportunities. I could have taken that position in California. The position you never mentioned until right now? Or are you talking about the one you turned down because you said you wanted to stay close to family? She looked caught. That's not. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're rewriting history to make me the villain in a story where I've been nothing but supportive. Supportive? You're controlling. Controlling how? By paying your student loans? By covering rent for 4 years? By encouraging you to pursue every opportunity that came up? She had no answer for that. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. Tomorrow morning, you're going to get served with divorce papers. I've already moved half my things to a storage unit. You can keep the house until we figure out the financial split. You already moved your things? Just the essentials. I'll be staying at my brother's place until this gets sorted out. She looked around our kitchen like she was seeing it for the first time. This is our home. No, I corrected. This is the house I've been paying the mortgage on while you saved your entire salary for whatever it is you spend money on. That wasn't entirely fair. She did contribute to groceries and utilities. But she'd been building a nest egg for 2 years while I covered the major expenses. You can't just leave me here alone. Why not? You've made it clear you'd prefer it that way. She tried once more. What if I change? What if I can prove that I want this marriage to work? I looked at her for a long moment. You had that chance 2 years ago when I forgave you for cheating. You had it every day since then when you could have chosen gratitude over resentment. You had it today when you could have kept your mouth shut instead of humiliating us both. So that's it. You're just giving up. I'm not giving up, I said, heading toward the stairs. I'm finally accepting reality. And the reality is that you stopped being my wife a long time ago. You just forgot to tell me. I could hear her crying as I went upstairs to pack the rest of my immediate necessities. But for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Because the hardest part wasn't leaving her. It was admitting that I should have done it sooner. The papers were served on Thursday morning. I know because she called me 17 times before I finally picked up. You actually did it, she said without preamble. You actually filed. I told you I would. I thought. I hoped you were just trying to scare me. I was sitting in my brother's kitchen, drinking coffee that didn't taste like the expensive blend she insisted we buy. When have I ever made empty threats? Silence. Because she knew the answer. I need you to call this off, she said finally. Not happening. My family is furious with me. My mother hasn't spoken to me since Sunday. That sounds like a you problem. Don't be cruel. I almost laughed. Cruel? You want to talk about cruel? Let's discuss how you spent Tuesday evening. Another silence. Longer this time. I don't know what you mean. You called your brother trying to get him to mediate. When that didn't work, you called your father. Then your mother. Then your grandmother. You made the rounds, didn't you? I was trying to fix things. You were trying to find someone who'd take your side. How'd that work out? The answer was obvious from her tone. They don't understand the whole situation. Actually, they understand perfectly. Your uncle called me yesterday. He what? Yeah. Wanted to apologize for not seeing what was happening sooner. Said he always wondered why you seemed so ungrateful for everything you had. That's not. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Your grandmother called too. Asked if there was anything she could do to help me through this difficult time. Your grandmother, by the way. I could hear her breathing getting heavier. They're taking your side because you manipulated them. How exactly did I manipulate them? By telling the truth. By making me look like the villain. I didn't make you anything. You've been showing them who you are for years. They just finally paid attention. That's when her voice changed. Got harder. More desperate. Fine. You want to play hardball? I can play hardball too. This should be interesting. I'll take half of everything. The house, your retirement, your savings. All of it. I sipped my coffee. Good luck with that. What do you mean, good luck? It's community property. The house that I put the down payment on using money from my account. The mortgage I've been paying solo for 5 years. The retirement account I started before we got married. Silence. Oh, and those savings you mentioned? The ones I've been contributing to while you spent your entire salary on clothes, spa days, and girls' trips? Yeah, I've got documentation on all of that too. You can't prove. Bank statements, credit card records, receipts. I've got 5 years of financial records showing exactly who paid for what. Your lawyer's going to love that. Her voice cracked. Why are you being so mean? Mean? I'm being practical. You want to know what mean looks like? Mean would be me telling your new colleagues about why your last study partner isn't allowed at the clinic anymore. You wouldn't. Try me. The truth was, I probably wouldn't. But she didn't know that. This isn't you, she said, switching tactics again. You're not vindictive. You're kind. You're forgiving. I was. Past tense. People don't just change overnight. You're right. It took me 2 years to change. 2 years of watching you take everything I did for granted. 2 years of listening to you complain about a life that most people would kill for. 2 years of being married to someone who acted like being my wife was a burden. I never said that. You didn't have to. Actions speak louder than words. Although your words at your family reunion were pretty clear too. Friday brought a different strategy. She showed up at my work. Security called my extension. Sir, there's a woman here asking to see you. Says she's your wife. Send her up. When she walked into my office, she looked different. Vulnerable. Hair down. Minimal makeup. Wearing the dress I'd bought her for our 3rd anniversary. We need to talk, she said. We're talking. Really talk. Not through lawyers or over the phone. Face to face. I leaned back in my chair. You've got 5 minutes. I miss you. No, you don't. You miss the security I provided. That's not true. When's the last time you asked about my day? And I mean really asked, not just made conversation while scrolling through your phone. She opened her mouth, then closed it. When's the last time you initiated any kind of physical contact that wasn't leading somewhere? Another pause. When's the last time you said thank you for anything I did without me having to point it out first? She was crying now. That's not fair. What's not fair is spending 5 years of my life supporting someone who saw it as an obligation instead of a gift. I can change. You said that before. This time I mean it. You meant it before too. Right up until you decided you didn't. She tried one last approach. What about all the good times? What about our wedding day? What about when we first moved in together? What about them? Doesn't that mean anything to you? I stood up. It meant everything to me. That's why this hurts so much. You took something beautiful and turned it into something I had to endure. Please, she whispered, don't throw away 5 years. I'm not throwing them away. I'm refusing to waste 5 more. She left without another word. That weekend, I heard through her brother that she'd been calling everyone she knew, trying to find someone who'd tell her what she wanted to hear. Someone who'd agree that I was being unreasonable. Someone who'd validate her victim narrative. She didn't find anyone, because the truth has a way of catching up with you. And her truth was that she'd taken a good man's love for granted until he finally stopped giving it. The mediation session was scheduled for the following Tuesday. I arrived 10 minutes early with my lawyer and a folder thick enough to use as a doorstop. My wife showed up with her attorney looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her lawyer, some hotshot who probably charged $300 an hour, opened with confidence. My client is entitled to 50% of all marital assets, including the home, retirement accounts, and savings. My attorney, a straightforward guy who'd handled my consultation, smiled politely. Let's review the documentation. For the next hour, we went through everything. Every bank statement, every mortgage payment, every student loan payment I'd made on her behalf, every financial contribution, documented and categorized. Your client contributed approximately 18% to household expenses over 5 years, my lawyer explained. While my client covered mortgage, insurance, major repairs, and all educational debt. Her lawyer's confidence evaporated quickly. These calculations don't account for my client's domestic contributions. You mean like cooking? I interrupted. Because I did that too. Or cleaning. Also me. Yard work. Me again. What exactly did she contribute beyond 18% of the bills? My wife finally spoke up. I was building my career. With my financial support, I replied, which I was happy to provide when I thought we were building something together. The mediator, a patient woman in her 60s, reviewed the paperwork. Mr. Johnson, these records are quite thorough. Did you compile all of this recently? I've been keeping detailed records for 2 years, I said. Call it a habit from my accounting background. That was when my wife's expression changed. She'd never paid attention to my organizational skills before. Now she was realizing how thorough I actually was. 2 years, her lawyer asked. Since the first incident of infidelity. I wanted to be prepared if this pattern continued. The mediator looked at my wife. There was previous infidelity? My wife's lawyer hadn't been briefed on this detail. I could see it in his face. It was resolved, my wife said quickly. Was it? I asked. Because the behavioral patterns that led to the infidelity never changed. The entitlement, the ingratitude, the treating our marriage like an inconvenience. Her lawyer requested a brief recess. I watched through the glass partition as he had what appeared to be a very intense conversation with his client. When they returned, his approach had shifted completely. Perhaps we can discuss a more reasonable division of assets. The final agreement was fair, though not what she'd expected. She kept the house, but had to refinance to buy out my equity. She kept her car, her jewelry, and her retirement account. I kept mine, plus compensation for the educational debt I'd covered. Most importantly, She kept her career, the one I'd made possible. This isn't right, she said after signing the papers. I gave you the best years of my life. You gave me some years, I corrected. Whether they were your best is debatable. Outside the mediation office, she tried one last time. I know I messed up, but doesn't 5 years mean anything to you? It means I invested 5 years in someone who never appreciated it. And I'm smart enough not to invest 5 more. What if I prove I can change? You had multiple chances to prove that. You chose not to. She was quiet for a moment. Your brother called me yesterday. Did he? He said you seem happier. Lighter. Is that true? I considered the question. Yeah, it is. Because you're rid of me? Because I'm rid of the constant feeling that nothing I did was ever enough. That hit her harder than anger would have. I could see it in her eyes. I never meant to make you feel that way. Intent doesn't matter when the impact is the same. 2 weeks later, her mother called me. I owe you an apology, she said without preamble. For what? For not seeing what was happening. For not raising her to appreciate what she had. You raised her fine. Sometimes people just choose to be ungrateful. She's struggling with the financial reality of everything. She's a successful orthopedic specialist. She'll be fine, but she's used to a certain lifestyle. That I provided, I finished. She'll have to adjust. Most people manage to live within their means. She asks about you. What does she ask? If you're dating anyone. If you seem lonely. If you regret the divorce. What do you tell her? The truth. That you seem relieved. Because I was. For the first time in 2 years, I wasn't walking on broken glass. Wasn't carefully monitoring my words to avoid triggering another complaint about how marriage was harder than she'd expected. She thought you'd come back, her mother continued. She thought if she waited long enough, you'd change your mind. Why would I change my mind? Because you loved her. I did love her. Past tense. But love isn't supposed to be one-sided charity work. What will you do now? Live my life. Date when I'm ready. Find someone who appreciates partnership instead of treating it like a burden. After we hung up, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was just free. Free from the constant criticism disguised as suggestions. Free from the eye rolls when I wanted to spend time together. Free from the feeling that my best efforts were never quite enough. My wife had been right about one thing at that family reunion. She did regret our marriage daily. The difference was, I'd stopped trying to change her mind about it. Instead, I'd changed mine. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into her at the grocery store. Not the upscale market where she used to shop, but the regular chain store where normal people buy their groceries. She was comparing prices on pasta sauce. Hey, she said when she noticed me. She looked tired. Older somehow. How are you doing? I asked, genuinely curious. Good. Really good. The practice is busy. That's great. We stood there for a moment. 2 people who used to share everything now making small talk in the condiment aisle. I heard you bought a place, she said. Just a townhouse. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. That's nice. She paused. I heard something else too. What's that? That you're seeing someone. Word travels fast in a small professional community. I am. Is it serious? We're taking it slow. But yeah, it could be. She nodded, trying to look happy for me. What's she like? She's grateful, I said simply. The word hung between us like a weight. Grateful. When I cook dinner, she says thank you instead of critiquing my technique. When I suggest spending a weekend together, she gets excited instead of sighing about her other plans. When I support her goals, she appreciates it instead of treating it like an obligation. My ex-wife looked down at the pasta sauce in her hands. That's good. It is good. It's amazing what a relationship feels like when both people actually want to be in it. She was quiet for a long moment. I know I wasn't. I know I didn't appreciate what we had. I know you know. Do you think there's any chance? No. The word came out firmer than I'd intended, but not cruel. Just definitive. I figured, she said softly. But I had to ask. Why? Because I finally understand what I lost. And I wanted you to know that I know. I looked at her carefully. She seemed genuine. Broken, maybe, but genuine. I'm glad you figured it out, I said. But figuring it out after you've already thrown something away doesn't bring it back. I know. Besides, you didn't lose me. You gave me away. Piece by piece, day by day, until there was nothing left worth fighting for. She started crying then, right there in the grocery store, between the pasta sauce and the salad dressing. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I believe you. But sorry doesn't fix 5 years of taking someone for granted. I don't know how to live with knowing I ruined the best thing in my life. You learn. Same way I learned to live with being married to someone who didn't want to be married to me. That's not fair. Fair would have been you appreciating what you had when you had it. Fair would have been you treating our marriage like a partnership instead of a burden. Fair would have been you choosing gratitude over resentment. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I was stupid. You were selfish. There's a difference. Is there? Stupid can be fixed with information. Selfish is a character issue. That hit home. I could see it in her face. The woman you're with now, she said after a moment. Does she know? About us. About what happened. She knows I'm divorced. She knows it ended because my ex-wife didn't appreciate what she had. That's all. That's all that matters. The details are between you and me. Thank you for that. I nodded. Take care of yourself. You too. I walked away then, leaving her standing there with her bargain pasta sauce and her regrets. 3 hours over, I picked up my phone and called Sarah. Not the Sarah from every other AI story, but my Sarah. The woman who'd answered my dating profile with humor and intelligence. The woman who laughed at my jokes and meant it. The woman who said thank you when I held doors and brought her coffee. Hey, she answered on the second ring. How's grocery shopping going? Almost done. Want me to grab anything for dinner tomorrow? Surprise me. I trust your judgment. For words that meant everything. I trust your judgment. I love you, I said. I love you too. Drive safe. As I finished my shopping, I thought about the difference between my ex-wife and Sarah. It wasn't that Sarah was perfect or that my ex-wife was evil. It was simpler than that. Sarah chose gratitude. Every day, in small ways and big ones. She chose to appreciate what we were building together. My ex-wife had chosen entitlement. She'd taken everything I did and decided it was owed to her rather than given freely. The funny thing was, I didn't hate her anymore. I felt sorry for her. Sorry that she'd let pride and selfishness cost her something genuine. Sorry that she'd spent so much energy being miserable in a marriage that could have been beautiful. But mostly, I felt grateful. Grateful that her cruel honesty at that family reunion had finally given me permission to stop pretending everything was fine. Because sometimes the worst thing someone can do to you turns out to be the best thing they could do for you. That night, Sarah came over for dinner. We cooked together, talked about our days, planned a weekend trip. Normal couple stuff that felt extraordinary because we both wanted to be there. You're quiet tonight, she said as we cleaned up. Just thinking. About what? About second chances. Giving them or getting them. Recognizing when you don't deserve them. She looked at me curiously but didn't push. That was another thing I appreciated about her. She trusted me to share what I was ready to share. Later, as we watched a movie on the couch, she curled up against my side and said, "Thank you for dinner. And for fixing my sink this morning. And for just being you. Just being me was enough for her. It had never been enough for my ex-wife. That's how I knew I'd made the right choice. Not just in leaving her, but in refusing to go back when she finally realized what she'd lost. Because some mistakes don't deserve forgiveness. They deserve consequences. And sometimes, the best consequence is simply living well without the person who couldn't appreciate what they had. My ex-wife got to keep her regrets. I got to keep my self-respect. Fair trade.